I'm Adora Wolfor, and a little rain can't stop us from living a creative life. Today, I'll introduce you to 3 Calgarians who make our city a better place by living their authentic, creative lives. Today, visual puns, digging the styles, and very tiny people. First up on the show, we head to a studio in Ramsey to connect with an artist who embraces the lighter side of art and life. Angie Reese, thank you for coming on Living a Creative Life. It is my honor to be welcomed into your home.
Well, I'm so happy you came.
Angie, I want to talk about how you feel as an artist right now in this point in time in your life.
Well, I think right now you kind of caught me at a really good juncture. I'm in my late 50s and I'm feeling really good, but there's something liberating about hitting the 50s and not really caring anymore.
You're at a new season, and so maybe let's tell our audience a little bit more of the journey of how you got here as an artist.
Well, it's not linear, that's for damn sure. It does loop-de-loops. You know what, this has been the thing I've always been good at. I've never had a head for math, language, numbers, any of that kind of stuff. So it was obvious that this was going to be my thing. And you know, many years ago when I was in Edmonton studying, I thought I'd go to art school for a couple years, get it out of my system, and then maybe find some serious real job that would, you know, get me through life. But the 2 years that I spent there made me kind of go, oh, I think I want to do a little more of that. And then I stopped kind of worrying about whether or not, well, it was going to pay the bills, because it just seemed like, well, it probably won't. So get used to asking if you want fries with that, and do your stuff on the side, right? So I sort of carved out really early on that it was important that my creative time was mine, and it was important to me, and I didn't want it to suffer because I had to go work for some. So I started working in theater. I painted sets and backdrops and sometimes doing some props and things like that. And you work with a bunch of creative people and you get sort of mad skills too. And so from that, I developed the skills to paint big and fast. And so I started a mural business. And that did really well for a number of years, and then decals came out. Then I had to reinvent myself again, and I got into doing more teaching, and I worked up at Mount Royal and taught in the theater department there, and was able to kind of share a lot of those skills. I did that for a few years, and then I had to reinvent myself again, and had an opportunity striking out and seeing if I could make it happen with galleries. And so it seemed like kind of a logical next step, and so that's sort of how that went.
Now, you name your pieces. I'm wondering if you intended to be comedic.
You know what, I think it's a little bit of everything. I certainly, probably mostly respond to humor. If something strikes me as funny, that's going to stick with me, and I quite like that. When I see that in people, if they're looking at my work, if they're going through a gallery and they read a title of a painting and they start laughing and they call their friend over and then they start looking at all of them, I mean, that is the pinnacle, right? And my titles always start sort of with a bit of language play. Like I'm always thinking about puns or idioms or expressions or things like that, and they kind of tumble around, and I kind of get ideas based on that.
You're now across Canada in galleries.
I think I feel really good about it. I feel more confident about it than I ever have. I've just kind of come into my own a lot more, and I feel now like I have something to say. My perspective is not kind of serious typically. I actually, before I did my whimsical style full time, I would kind of dip my toe in, do a little bit of whimsical stuff, and then I'd be like, okay, that is so not gonna fly. You should paint landscapes. And so I would do some landscapes, and I'd bring them to a community show, and inevitably people would be like, what are those other fun little things you were doing? I was richly rewarded at that show. Everybody came in and they were so joyful to kind of see them back and in abundance. And I was like, that is all the confirmation I needed.
I love how you were just like, I'm in my late 50s. Like, it does not matter.
Right.
How has that impacted what you create?
I'm doing things that are kind of lighthearted, that make me feel joyful and happy.
Now, you said whimsical.
Yeah.
What does that mean to you?
It means lighthearted, joyful, sometimes unexpected, kind of fun. I think probably the best way I would characterize my work is that like visual puns. Somebody used that one time describing my stuff, and I think that works really well. You know, I paint a lot of cows, and if I'm thinking like that, I might be like, "We are not amused," or you know, something like that, or "Moose bouche," or something like that. So that kind of stuff is literally always going on in my head. And from there, I'm putting it together with usually an animal. Animals are what I sort of relate to a little bit more. I kind of find painting humans boring. Thankfully, I think I've found an audience of people who are kind of into that too. Just something that makes them feel good. You know, you just kind of do your thing, and if it works for people, terrific. They can enjoy it and buy it. When I sold my first piece, one a few years ago, it was a moose. And it was like, it had run into a laundry line, and it had like a bra hanging from one of the antlers and underpants and all this kind of thing. It was called the Booby Trap. And somebody bought it to be able to donate it for breast cancer research. And I was just like, wow, that to me, that is it.
How does your community interact with you? Are you feeling supported?
I see things outside of my house that I just can't live without, you know? Any major birthday, I'm like, okay, what have we got in the bank to spend today? Yeah, to me, honestly, like I said before, it's kind of life force. I need it around me. I have an idea in my mind to do a children's book, and I'm turning 60 next year, and I want those two things to coincide. Yeah.
What does art mean to you? What does creativity mean to you?
Well, I think it's just your life force. Really, I can't live without it. You know, it's not the most lucrative living, that's for damn sure, but I think there's different kinds of currency in this world, and I feel really lucky to do what I do. I feel rich to be able to do what I do.
Next, we head to Kensington to connect with an easygoing tattoo artist who is inspired by the journey of life. All right, Mario, thank you for letting us come in here today and watch you work. It's not often that we get to see real-time art happening.
Well, I never thought that I really wanted to ever tattoo. I was at a shop and I was with my kid's mom, and one of the artists was like, "Yo man, you should tattoo. Pretty boy like you, hell yeah." And then, I don't know, I started dabbling a little bit and I found it very interesting. And then I got an apprenticeship with Mike. My dad's side of the family is Bayesian. It's more proper there.
Right.
And in a sense of tattooing, it's still criminal, underworld. Even my dad, he's like, "Oh, you're gonna do tattooing? You won't make any money off of that." And I was like, "Cool, watch me, dude."
Because it's not for everyone, right?
No, but it's coming more and more common now. Everyone's starting to get tattooed. It seems like even grandmas.
And you feel like you're being impactful in someone else's life. That's
Oh
amazing.
yeah, everyone I tattoo, you know, I impact them. And I'm literally like scarring their body in a sense and injecting this ink, and like, you know, this is something that's permanent.
Do you want to just put anything on anybody? I would assume that you have your own style.
Okay.
And so, like, how do you connect with someone when you're deciding?
Definitely in your artistry that you do develop styles that you're more comfortable with, which you're more strong about. And most of the time now, people just come to me and they look at my page and they go, "Yo, I like trash polka, I like the sacred geometry, I like the black illustrative or the realism and stuff." So they see that there and it's constantly going. And same thing with your reels game and your story. Keep the things that you are wanting to work on and keep that going in people's face. I like things a little more saturated, bigger pieces, something that has weight. My favorite thing so far that I found just from tattooing is when someone's like, "Well, I expected a good piece, but you just blew my mind on this." I think we should all reach those levels in anything that we're passionate about.
How do you feel about the way that people interact with your art?
My clients know what I like, and even then, if I want to do something else or look for that newer piece, then I would push that out there with my designs. Like, I like doing the full days with one person. When we got time to create or add, you know, it's not that this is final. I get a high off of it, like pulling some clean lines with the geometry and stuff. Yeah, the depth I'm going with my detail, they were just saying it's really good and keep going. Like, lots of good positive feedback from my homies. So setting a tone, I first started painting with black canvases. I'm not really big into like color. Like, I do like using some red elements with that trash polka style, just from the high-low contrast between the black ink and the red ink. But I like more darker pieces. I find lots of times we can see the light through the dark.
How do you feel about another artist working on you?
Makes me really happy being more covered. I'm definitely addicted to it. I want a full body coverage, full face, everything.
So what are some of the processes that you use as a tattoo artist that you would ask people to look for?
I definitely look at the shop. The shop's everything. Look how professional they are and like they're sterile. Word of mouth is important. Consults are really big. When I don't know a person, I do a consult. Gets a good feel of each other. You can talk about the piece. If I smell liquor on your breath, you're not getting inked. I'm sorry. Like, we're professionals here. We're not just willy-nilly, just doing whatever.
I think the stereotype of tattoo artists is that they're not real artists.
I think that's okay. Yeah, honestly, like, the less we get looked at by society, still come get tattoos, but I don't really want us to be like controlled, and at the same time, you can have a professional life. You can have, buy that house, that car.
Who comes to get tattoos?
I think it varies on the artist, what kind of art they're doing. I mostly get women 25 to like 40s, and then males, it's anywhere from like 18 to late 40s. This is my main focus and my kids, but like the progress and the direction I'm going, I'm never gonna stop. For like big pieces, like I'm working on the sleeve right now, and this one's gonna be done in 3 sessions.
Is there a place that you like to work more than another?
Oh yeah, no, like I find legs switch out the most. Again, we have certain spots where we just can't take that much. We have limits. I would start off with your arms. You don't grow as fast if you detach from everything and try to do your own thing, especially when you're not ready. You should get a mentor. I think that would be the biggest thing that could grow, and especially like a healthy shop where like you get whole different other aspects.
I know that you have done a fundraiser for Walls Down Collective.
Yeah, if people want to come down every last Saturday of every month and come get tattooed, we'll go straight to the collective. I think we should be doing more. I don't know, I want to do some more like outreach with art programs with like troubled youth, but that will take time. I just want everyone, if you love something and you want to do it, go do it.
And in Patterson, we introduce you to an artist who likes to combine his love for the outdoors with his passion for art.
Yeah, I grew up in Utah. I've lived there pretty much my whole life. I went to college at Brigham Young University and met my wife there, and she's from Calgary. So she told me when we got married, she always kind of planned on coming back here. Similar place, similar interests. There's the mountains and there's the rivers and the lakes, and all the things that I like from home are here too. And drawing and coloring and, experimenting with art my whole life. I don't think there was ever a time where I drew comic books and all sorts of things, but I think it was a little bit later I got pretty interested in illustration. Not only children's books illustration, but there was certain illustrators that I really liked. I actually went to college to be an art teacher. I got my degree in art teaching, and I did that junior high, high school level, and then I taught some elementary school too. It's fun to teach kids. You get to try all sorts of stuff. I was trying to still work on my own things. I took some painting classes. I had a really good professor who opened up my world of color and how to use brushes and how to use the materials properly. So I kind of took it full time, and I don't feel like I know what I'm doing most of the time, but I'm figuring it out. My inspiration comes from the things that I enjoyed doing, things that I've at least tried in my life. I grew up snowboarding, I grew up hiking with my friends. When I first started painting, I think that just made sense for me to paint things that I knew. I tried to take my illustration, my love of illustration into my painting, and you kind of see that in the colors I use and the kind of the graphic nature of it. There's different kind of meanings you find in art, but for me it's kind of telling a story that I enjoy, and I like seeing what other people find in my art. Usually that's the most interesting part, is people have their own stories that they can associate with. I didn't ever intend to really sell my work when I first started. Decided to put it out there in a little market. You know, I submitted some pieces and I got in, and some people discovered my work there that had a gallery. And once I got into the gallery, that's when I kind of realized I could push this a little further, and it would take a little bit more of my time. I was in a small gallery in Marteloup. I was grateful for that. She had my work in there for as long as she could, and I've done some pieces for some shows in the Leighton Art Center. And people ask me what my work is, and I try to tell them, in general, you'll find some big outdoor activity like canoeing, biking, snowboarding, skiing, with big shapes, big backgrounds, and little people doing some sort of activity. It's how I always sort of felt when I was doing those sort of things, is when you're out in nature and you're in these big mountains or in a giant lake, it makes you feel small. You start to realize, you know, the world is big and powerful and crazy, and you're just a small piece in it. I like when I first kind of came up with the idea of a tiny little person jumping off a big cliff, it just resonated, you know, with that feeling of feeling small. I kind of developed my own personal style pretty early. I think I've benefited from that a lot, that I was able to be recognizable right away. It's crazy. It's imposter syndrome. I don't feel like I'm doing anything special, but I'm really grateful that people like what I do. I think I wouldn't have had the opportunities I had if it weren't for the connections I had in Utah. I've tried to do things outside of that. I do some other pieces, like especially in commissions. You know, it's fun. Now I just try to take my style and apply it to other things. Definitely would love to get to know more artists and more shows and more opportunities around here. Some women found me through that small gallery in Marteloup. They saw some of my work there, and they're putting on a show called the Pink Door Show. It's a brand new thing that they've started. They are kind of turning this house into a gallery space, and they're going to host a bunch of different artists from, I think, all around Calgary and maybe some outside areas, but they plan on filling the house, every single room, with art. And I'm glad they found me and they like my stuff, so they have asked me for several pieces. I'm gonna have a lot of my work there, and there are some pieces I look back on that I really loved, and I've always loved the cliff jumpers. Those are the ones that have always spoken to me the most, and to see where those started to where they are now kind of evolved my style over the years. I would love to see it in other galleries and more shows, both locally and throughout Canada. I would also like to be able to expand to bigger pieces, murals, public art. I think all that kind of stuff is really cool, and I would love to illustrate and get my art into books. Illustration and fine art, I think my stuff would kind of fit into the illustration world.
Thank you, Angie, Mario, and Sam, for sharing your stories that embody the creative spirit. I'm gonna head inside to get out of the rain. Well, we'll see you next time on Living a Creative Life.